Develop your skills. Exercise 4. Development 03. Use the Scenario Manager. The Scenario Manager will function a little bit like some of the tools we've previously used. It'll let you take a set of data and say, what happens when I tweak A, B, or C, or A, B, and C? What happens when we get this much more, or this much less than we expected? It lets you play with the numbers without having to remake your worksheet. Let's go over use of the Scenario Manager now and show you how it differs from previous tools like GoalSeek. Open up the Scenarios workbook. Once you have it open, enter the following information. 1 million for cash contributions. Remember, no commas. 50,000 for in-kind, 30 grand for grants, and 20 on interest. Alrighty. Come down here to cell B18 and enter the formula B15 divided by B8. Okay. Point 1, expenses versus income. Looking good. It'd be nice if we all function like that. Let's do this. Let's come over here and make sure that we have 18 properly sorted. Right click, and when it asks you to just change things as bold and percentage style, right click and click cell format, and then we're going to want to click the percentage style, 2 places of the default. Let's click OK, and then of course with that selected, click here for bold. Right on, it's coming together. Then we're going to select A4 through B8, hold down the control key, and then with control held down, we're going to select A17 through B18. There's a neat trick in here that's going to make things a lot easier as we're going through that scenario manager, as we need to be sure that we have certain cells named, quantified. We don't just want to always say A5 or B7. Sometimes we want to have them listed for their names and their specific values. Here's how we set those up once we have all the cells that we want. And usually you're going to want names on the left and numbers on the right. That'll be kind of the default format, and Excel knows how to read that predictively. Without doing a whole bunch of work, Excel already kind of knows what you want. Once we select these, formulas, and then click Create from Selection under the defined names. What this says is that if we're going to work with a formula, we're going to define the names just based on what we've selected without going in and doing a manual definition or managing the names. Click it once. Create names from the values in the left columns. We don't want to create the names from the numbers. So just left column. That'll be the default, and you can change those as need be. Click OK. It may not look like a ton has happened so far. So let's take a look at the actual name manager itself to see what we've done. Click Name Manager here under the Formulas bar under Define Names. And hey, what do you know? Double click on these auto resize options here and here. Even before you work with this menu, it can be pretty easy to sort out. Cash contributions, 1 million, and it refers to campaign analysis, $B$4. Let's see what that means. Cash contributions is the name right here. The value, 1 million, and it refers to the cell campaign contributions, or excuse me, campaign analysis. That's this page here. The exclamation point means everything before it is the page name, and the $B$4 means that cell B4 is right here, and no matter where we are on that sheet, cash contributions only refers to B4. The same nomenclature and logic applies to all the rest of these guys down here. Now that we have these names, we're ready to move forward. You don't have to change any names there. You can just click Close. Let's do this. Let's select B4 through B7, because that's what's going to get volatile. Our expenses, we know it's what's coming in that we may need. And then we're going to click right over here, Data, Data Tools, What If Analysis. We've used this once before, but instead of GoalSeek, we're going to use the Scenario Manager. The Scenario Manager looks a little lackluster when you first open it up. No scenarios defined. Choose Add to add scenarios. Well, okay, let's try Add then. The Scenarios Manager here, this window, will give you the completed scenarios as a list, and then you can go more deeply into each of those scenarios as they're made. Let's add our first one. We'll name it Scenario 1. And then we'll just select B4 through B7, because those are the only cells that we're going to allow to change. We're just going to click OK, leaving the rest of the options on the default. And yeah, let's create Scenario 1 with the default values. This means that after we change anything, after we run any other scenario, Scenario 1 is always going to take us back to where we started. It's a good way to be. Keep the original data there. Click OK, and hey, here we are, Scenario 1. Now we're going to add another scenario. We're going to add Scenario 2. Logical thing to call it. It's going to work with the same values. I'm going to click OK there, but this time we're going to change things a bit. What if our cash contribution really steps it up? What if we get more than we thought? What if we get $1.5 million? Yeah, I'm liking that. Can't wait to do this kind of math. It's always great to do the kind of math where you've got to redo things because you got more than you thought. Oh, ain't it great? And then grants, so long as we're being generous with our income, might as well say we get some better grants while we're at it. We'll change just those two and click OK. Now we have Scenario 1 and Scenario 2. Now it gets pretty simple. We have all of our data selected. Everything's properly set up to change expenses versus income, net projected. Let's come over here and select Scenario 1 and show. Nothing changed. Well, remember, Scenario 1's the base numbers. Select Scenario 2 and show. Here's our new income, our new expenses versus income, our new projected net income. If we want it back to where it was, click Scenario 1 and show. When we get 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 scenarios in here, it's really easy to cycle through a big sheet that we worked hard to put together. And when we just need to tweak a few things, all these different scenarios are a really great way to just click through and see what your numbers are going to give you. Let's add 2 more scenarios in here. Scenario 3. And, well, let's not pretend a rainy day can't come our way. What if it gets stingy? I mean, what if these numbers get bad? Well, might as well plan for it, better than being surprised by it. And then, man, what if we blow it out of the water? What if we go nuts? Business is going to go as viral as it can possibly be. $3.25 million. 53 in kind. 200,000 grant. And 80 grand in interest. Oh, I can't wait. Man, do I hope Scenario 4 is what comes my way. Check Scenario 3. That's getting skinny. Getting skinny, we're losing just shy of 1/5 of our expenses to income if we have to squeeze there. And ooh, baby. That's looking good. That's much better. 3% just over for Scenario 4. Here's hoping we hit the big numbers. As we cycle through these scenarios, especially since we could be working with some very sensitive data here, and rather than copy it over, did I make a copy of the sheet? Maybe I should put this on a new tab here. Just make the one sheet and use the scenario manager to safely load up different scenarios that you can then show to a colleague or coworker. Scenario Manager is going to remember these even after we close them out. So when you're done and you close these and you save the book, you can still go through the scenarios later. Let's just try one last thing here. Let's open up scenario number 3 and just click Edit. You'll notice it comes back to a familiar scenario. It's going to list a modified date, so each time you go through these scenarios, it's going to give you automatically in the comments a change log, which is good. And then when we click OK, what if despite all of our bad in-kind grants and interest, we get up to an awesomely awesome $2 million. Yeah, that's better. I'm liking that. Click OK. And then, if we're going to take just a summary, it's looking a little better. Income and expenses, even though we didn't do too good up here, the cash contributions were great. Let's go to the summary, and when we get to the summary, what we're going to want is 3 things specifically. B17, B18, and, add a comma, B8. Now it's important that B8, since it's being plugged into by other math, stay with those $2 signs there. By default, it will take this. We've given it B17 and B18 before, but now we're going to give it B8. With all that math plugged in, it will by default keep those dollar signs in there, keeping that as an absolute cell reference, making sure it doesn't move if we update any of the formula. This one out, leave it as scenario summary, click OK. Hey, right on. Now, with this very last one, well, hey, it looks like we're just not going to get the grants and interest we thought we would, but our cash contributions are actually pretty solid. Let's run this one as our current value, and then, hey, check it out. All these different scenarios here are going to let us know everything we've worked so hard to define. The cool part here is that also, if we click over on File, and this one isn't in your book, but whenever I get a good-looking set of data like that, I ask, can I keep it all on one page? Looks like I can. Change this one over to landscape. Hey, right on. Center that guy, put it right on there, and I could take this and show somebody, here's what we're really looking at, and the 4 predicted scenarios we have, ranging from best to worst. That print preview really makes it work well. And as soon as we have this one, it puts it in its own tab, the scenario summary, leaving the campaign analysis untouched. We can go back up to our what if and our scenario manager, and just return everything back to scenario 1. Whenever you're done with these lessons, feel free to fiddle a little bit. Say, you know, if this were me, I'd want to leave it on the original scenario, but keep my data over here. What's it going to look like when I send that job to the printer? The best thing you can do for yourself to really learn Excel is to always try just a little bit more and see if you can say, in my head, I've got a picture of what I want. How quickly can I make that picture happen? How can I get Excel to exactly where I want it? How can I ask Excel to do just what I need? When you have that, then it's just a matter of remembering which button to click.